Hi there, this is Comics Covered for the week of November 22nd, 2017, Episode 2, The Clone Wars, Into Darkness, Game of Shadows.
Okay.
Other subtitles. God, those are... Into Star Trek Into Darkness. I'm not saying anything about the movie, but that title is nonsense.
It's weird, and it doesn't really make sense with the whole movie too.
Just specifically the title, like it's like they were trying to make it into a sentence. Anyways, here we are again, yelling into the void, whether anyone is listening or not. Here on Comics Covered, we talk about comic books and the world around them, the comics industry, comic movies, TVs, games. I said TVs.
You
like
said
multiple
Ts.
televisions. We talk about those too. All the stuff your coworkers used to judge you about, but now they claim to be pretty big fans. Those
Do they
movies,
still, though?
they do wonders.
My coworkers don't, though.
Well, they're not very hip.
I guess not.
We also we do the cuss words and the spoilers and the occasional inane tangent. So bear with us with that. We'll hopefully warn you about the spoilers though. So
I think we will.
yeah, I'm Doug. I'm probably the closest thing to a comics veteran we've got. For example, I know who Fang Foom is.
And I'm Jack. I'm fairly new to comics. I definitely don't know who Fang Foom is, but I'm going to guess every single detail of this origin story.
Yeah, you were very specific last time in your shot in the dark Hail Mary guess on who Wanna Beast was.
Pretty much right, by the way. What?
Oh, 100%. Okay, well, maybe the Spark Notes version of your made-up summary of who Fang Foom is.
Fang Foom. First publisher is going to be... Are we going only big two here, or are we going to DC Marvel publishing, or are we going to go to characters that are...
We'll see where this goes.
But this is DC or Marvel? Because I'm going to guess Marvel.
Yes.
Okay.
You're correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's Marvel.
I think Marvel is... I think Fang Foom is not the most culturally sensitive name. Am I right?
Okay. I'm not entirely sure if it's supposed to be referential to...
I don't know. It sounds like a very culturally insensitive name. So I'm going to guess he's an ancient Chinese warrior who was encased in stone for a millennia before he was uncovered by Western archaeologists, and then had a reign of terror in which he did a bunch of stuff.
Okay. Fang Foom is, in fact, a giant green dragon in the Marvel Universe from space who wears purple shorts.
Okay.
He's not wearing purple shorts in this. I linked you to an image. He is not wearing the purple shorts.
Oh, well, that's...
He sometimes wears purple shorts.
Okay.
He is an alien dragon who crash landed in China. And, he's like an alien conqueror.
I see that this dragon has...
He spits acidic green mist.
Six-pack abs as well.
He's got like a weird human body.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Biceps, all this stuff. Wow, yeah. That's like very... It has a lot of human mammal muscles.
Yeah, it's weird.
Okay.
It's a Jack Kirby creation.
Jack Kirby?
Yeah. Old tussles with Iron Man a bunch.
Okay.
Thor.
Okay. But I will say, dragon, Chinese, kind of getting the right idea. Culturally insensitive, yes.
Okay.
Sure. We'll take it.
All right.
Happy Thanksgiving, by the way.
Oh yeah, thank you. Thanksgiving was good. Yeah. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was fun. It was good. Actually, really exciting thing. We had a turkey from Popeyes.
Wait, from Popeyes chicken?
Yes, a Cajun turkey, and it was great. It was really delicious, actually. This isn't sponsored by everybody, so Popeye's turkey on Thanksgiving
Popeyes get at us with free
was
shit.
delish. I would take it in a second. I actually had Popeyes for dinner last night. It was great.
All right. Well, we all make mistakes sometimes.
Oh, actually, I wanted to talk about one other thing. Sorry, I'm also getting more into video games. Everybody, as opposed to comics, not as opposed. On top of, and I just
How dare you?
Doug, I just finished Luigi's Mansion yesterday.
Oh, so
We're
good.
up till like 2
Love Luigi's
a.m.
Mansion.
trying to beat this goddamn final boss, and it was so annoying. I hated it so much. It was terrible.
I don't know if I ever finished that game, but I remember what I remember of it was great.
It was great. Okay, in any case, yeah, that's non-comics. Are there comics based on Super Mario Brothers? I'm sure there are somewhere, right? Or mangas, I guess.
I'm
since they're
sure
Japanese.
there are. I know there are cartoons. There have to be comics. There's comics for everything. Like, that has to be a thing that exists.
You ever read a manga?
I have not really, no. No. Not for any particular distaste for the medium or anything. I don't know. I haven't not a thing I've gotten into.
I mean, it is kind of the same medium as comics, though, just different art style, right?
There's different stuff stylistically and in the writing and stuff, but
Cool.
Again, I haven't really read much of it. Any of it. My week, pretty busy.
Yeah.
Haven't had like a whole lot of time other than the comics and stuff I read this week. I did manage to, with my purchases this week, I had to expand my comics to a new box, which is unfortunate. I'm trying to keep them fairly limited. They've consumed a closet in my home, and help, Jack.
What? Okay, you're doing a bit here.
They're consuming me.
Okay.
Taking up a lot of space.
Okay.
But
wait, so you're expanding the multiverse? You should call it the multiverse, right? That's relevant.
The multiverse
of your comic collection
of comics, the multiverse of things I can't get rid of, the multiverse of my physical media shame.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You get gym membership. I don't know.
I'm not really sure how that's relevant, but let's talk about our comics for the week. So every week we list off our stack of comics that we bought. We're not going to talk about all of these, but we're going to talk about specifics on the books that we have in common, and maybe some notes about the other books that we aren't going to talk as specific about.
But if you want us to talk about more of these, then you can look at us on our new social media presence.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Twitter at Comics Covered. Yeah. Facebook also same thing. Yeah. Comics Covered.
We should get a Snapchat.
Is that a thing that like media organizations do?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. It's crazy.
Weird. Okay, I'm not on Snapchat.
In any case, we really don't need to. I don't like Snapchat.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's what I got this week. I usually read these in order of kind of excitement / interest. So in order that I read them, we've got Doomsday Clock, Doom Patrol, Thanos, Sherlock, Frankenstein, and the Legion of Evil, Detective Comics, and The Flash. And I just want to say I wanted to pick up Demon Hell is Earth about Etrigan the Demon from DC this week, but our app that we use, Comic Book Geeks, did not tell me that it was coming out.
Oh no!
And I am frustrated by that. They've been doing that to me a number of times recently.
Sweet. The Flash. Wait, is The Flash something different than what the Metal Tie-ins are doing?
Those issues, like, are you talking about like the Bats Out of Hell thing?
Well, yeah, because it said part of it was a part of Flash, like.
Yeah, those were issues in the Flash series, but they are like diversions kind of from the normal Flash plot.
Okay. And now,
like they're like they were numbered issues of the Flash, but they were, for all intents and purposes, they're kind of a different thing.
Okay.
Like I didn't read them. I didn't read that, but but I am reading the normal issues of.
And the normal issues, I read something that the exciting thing going on with that is that he's setting up the Flash War.
Yeah, there's an event coming up called Flash War.
Do you think I should get on that?
That is going to feature some sort of conflict, I assume, between Barry Allen and Wally West and other Wally West.
Conflict of war, maybe?
The word war would imply some sort of conflict, I guess. Yes.
Should I get on that?
On Flash?
Yeah, I don't know. Is it good? What's up? Or I guess we'll talk about that. I'll list my stack first, and you can talk about that.
Yeah, we'll maybe ask about that after after our shared books. Jack, what did you read this week?
My stack. I usually read these. If there's, I'm going to fall off on this because at some point I'm going to lose track of how much investment there is. But like, if there is like a certain amount of issues for this guy and I'm just starting this guy, the one that I'm just starting is probably going to get put more in the back, and the ones that I have more issues invested with are going to be more at the front. I don't know why I'm doing that, but hey, I'm just starting at this. So I have Doom Patrol, Doomsday Clock, Thanos, and Wonder Woman. And yes, Wonder Woman I have more issues invested with, but it's just so hard to get on that train these days.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
So our shared books for the week, we got Doomsday Clock, number 1, Doom Patrol number 9, Thanos number 13. Let's talk about Doomsday Clock,
okay.
Jack. Doomsday Clock is kind of the big industry event right now.
Yeah.
Comic book event. That is the follow-up to the final follow-up to Jeff Johns' DC Universe Rebirth, in which he teased that the Watchmen were somehow tampering with the DC Universe, specifically Dr. Manhattan. And they announced this event, Doomsday Clock, by Jeff Johns, Gary Frank on art. And it is, it's
everything
leading into the introduction of the Watchmen characters into an event in which they will, in some form, interact with DC characters like Superman, who we see at the very end here.
Oh, wait. Are we... Spoiler warning.
Spoiler warning. We're talking about spoilers here.
I mean, I guess he was on some covers, so you know he's going to be somewhat... It's not a surprise, but still, just so you know, everybody...
Yeah, spoiler warning.
Spoiler warning.
We're going to talk about specifics of these books.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jack, what was your kind of general reaction to this?
I mean, my general reaction is like, it's really, I think it's a great follow-up because it's just picking up, not exactly where we left off, obviously, but it's picking up in a world after this huge disaster that Mr. Veidt caused. And, I mean, it's a weird appearance by Rorschach at first, but he quickly explains, I'm not, that guy. My general reaction is that I think it's a great follow-up, and it's really, really, I don't know. It's treading the water well thus far, I think.
Yeah, it's tonally spot on, I feel like, for like capturing the feeling and kind of essence of how Watchmen as a story felt. I think it's really well done. Yeah, it's much more of a almost a direct sequel in a lot of ways to Watchmen than I was expecting. I was expecting this to be much more grounded in the regular DCU, and we were going to get the introductions of those characters into the DCU like as we went along. But this book is literally like we are in the Watchmen universe, dealing with like direct follow-up to Adrian Veidt, Ozymandias being revealed as like creating this whole hoax that he creates where he basically commits a giant genocide in the name of creating this false peace. And Rorschach reveals that by releasing his journal, and we're dealing with basically the fallout from the world after being in this kind of fake time of peace because of that, like finding out that it was all this horrible lie.
Which I mean, I feel like some people will think that this is automatically like just kind of ruining it. I think some people are going to think just automatically they won't like this at all because that ending for Watchmen is so great. So I think some people will be automatically turned off by this, but it really, like, I don't know, when you take out the iconic like story that it is, and just beginning, middle, and end, how it is as a piece of media, when you take out that, all the importance surrounding it, all the, holding it on the pedestal, this is a great way to start this story off. And I think also, they started really delving into this with the Batman and the Flash, which I didn't read the whole thing of, by the way, everybody. I just read the synopsis on Wikipedia. I cheated. But those are very heavily.
It's not in necessary reading. The Button was a fun little event in which Batman and the Flash investigated the comedian's button, which Batman had found in his in the Batcave. But
it was basically just Flashpoint sequel, then, right?
Yeah, it was just like them kind of hopping through universes, and they didn't really find anything out. They like teased their spoilers for the Button, if anyone, I guess, is still planning on reading it. But it's he meets Flashpoint Batman, which is Thomas Wayne in another universe, and he meets they tease the reappearance of Jay Garrick, the original Flash, who will, I'm assuming, have some sort of involvement in this eventually. But but otherwise it's not super necessary reading for this, I don't think, at least so far.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into the kind of the important events that happen in this issue here.
Well, yeah, they're basically camping out at Night Owl's hideout here, and I don't know, I didn't catch. Did they ever go into like what this guy's name and who this actually is, or are we just kind of left to be a mystery?
The new Rorschach?
Yeah.
So, just in case anyone hasn't read this and is just like curious or something, they introduce a new version of Rorschach in this book, and it is a new version. They make a point of saying, like, pointing out that Rorschach died horribly in the end of Watchmen.
Oh yeah.
They ask him. He says, like, I'm not the same guy. And he says, wasn't me, not same guy, different. And they asks this other character, Marionette, asks him to prove it, and he removes his glove, and his hand is black. So he is a different character than the original Rorschach. He's a different person.
I didn't catch that part. I didn't see that little reveal. I read these too fast sometimes, I think.
You read them very fast, Jack. Sometimes you text me that you're reading something, and then literally like 5 minutes later you'll tell me you finished. And I understand you can get through these very quickly if you just read the text very quickly. But like,
you got to see
slow down and look at the look at the art, man. You know what? Also about this one specifically is that it has the 9-panel thing, which I heard is a specific format, right? Yeah, the 9-panel grid. Well, I mean, in this, it's very specifically because Alan Moore was a 9-panel grid guy. But I mean, 9-panel grid is a very specific form of comic book storytelling that some people swear by. Tom King is a really big proponent of the 9-panel grid. He's also a really big Alan Moore acolyte. So,
but I feel like it makes you naturally travel faster through them. Do you know what I mean?
It creates a really strong sense of pacing.
Yeah.
It creates like this very strong sense of the progression of time that is consistent. And then when you break from that format, it makes those panels
pop out.
More impactful.
Like we go through this whole thing, and Rorschach's finding like Marionette, that other guy, and he's.
Which are both, have I explained the origin of the Watchmen characters to you before? Like how Alan Moore originally was going to write a story about the characters from the Charlton publisher. And that was recently picked up by DC. These are characters like The Question and Blue Beetle and other characters. And he wrote his first draft of the story using those characters. Then they were like, this is too dark for you to use these characters. We want to be able to use them again. You're going to ruin them. So he created analogs of them, basically, and also kind of shifted them around and added in some kind of referential elements to other characters. But these new characters, are very much in that spirit, and that they are also analogs of Charlton characters. Punchy and Jewel and Punchy, who are two kind of clown sort of marionette or themed Charlton villains in the form of what are their names? the marionette and the mime he's so great. The mime is so good. He's got invisible weapons that he threatens people with. He has to go. He insists that the new Rorschach brings him to his locker to retrieve his weapons. They make this very big deal about it, and then they go to the locker and it's empty. And he removes he pretends to remove all his weapons from this empty locker. I'm
just waiting for him to I'm really excited for him to be used to like this full effect.
Yeah. Oh, I would be so happy if he shoots someone with the invisible gun at some point. And they die. It would be so good. But anyway, yeah, Rorschach helps those two escape from prison because, surprise, surprise, they are wanted for some sort of plan by Ozymandias, who's hiding out in Night Owl's cave. Night Owl's lab.
Also, he has this little weird long-haired cat.
Babastis. Yep, who he killed in the events of Watchmen. So he has some sort of new... It was a genetically engineered lynx, so he has a new version of that here that he's created.
Contacted Buonabeast, right?
Yeah, he merged a lynx and a ball of cotton candy, I guess.
Mm-hmm. By the way, just so everybody knows, Doug and I were talking about this earlier, but Buonabeast, I think it's very, very sad that he lets these animals live in pain afterwards, and I don't understand how he does it, so that's all.
I don't think they're living in pain.
I think they're living in pain, because there's no way...
We don't know that.
Okay, in any case.
He's doing it with, weird magic powers. They're not like...
Here and,
Oh my god. Okay. So Ozymandias has some sort of plot here. They're obviously trying to trick us into thinking he has good goals here again, and he's probably going to turn out to be doing something evil again, because of course he murdered millions of people in Watchmen. But and then we've got the end here where Clark Kent in the regular DC universe has a nightmare about the death of
his parents.
Which was an addition to the New 52. His parents had been alive for a really long time after that, and then I thought they had retconned that out with the bringing back the old version of Superman. Really? But I guess that's still canon.
So we got Angsty,
which is weird. But anyway, it turns out this is Clark Kent having a nightmare about this, and Lois says, "Did you have a nightmare? I can't remember the last time you had a nightmare." He says, "I don't think I've ever had a nightmare," which is kind of a really interesting thought. Mm-hmm. This idea of this cynical, pessimistic universe of Watchmen kind of permeating that of the optimism of the DC universe, and specifically of Superman.
Well, let's talk about this, because this goes into the specific writing, because I think it's great how they bring up this shot of Superman in bed, having this supposed nightmare, because the thing that Veidt leaves us off on is we have to find Dr. Manhattan. We have to find him. That's the only mission we have, to find John. And then it just cuts right to this overlooking Metropolis skyline. And it's because, he is basically that's the only equivalent that he has, right? Who would beat each other in a fight? I have no idea. Who's more powerful, Dr. Manhattan or...
Probably Dr. Manhattan, who can disassemble things on an atomic level with his brain.
Yeah. Okay, never mind. It's been a long time since I read that.
Oh, yeah, they're trying to find... Ozymandias wants to find John Osterman, Dr. Manhattan, in order to somehow save the world somehow. He's being very vague on exactly what his plan is, but Rorschach is being kind of forced into helping him. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the writing in this is it's specifically Rorschach's voice is so spot on in terms of capturing that rhythm, that cadence, that really staccato, gruff tone that Rorschach has in Watchmen.
Do you feel like it feels a little more lighthearted, though?
There were moments, but I think that was purposeful because this is a different Rorschach.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like it, though. It's nice.
It's a different person, and he's very much supposed to sound like the way Rorschach talked, but they make a very big... Yeah, they make a point of, he's talking about very mundane kinds of things, like his pancakes at this diner, but then he's also doing Rorschach-y shit, like
his teeth in
while he's at this diner, he sticks a fork through someone's tongue. Yeah. Oh, by the way, do you have a guess as to who this new Rorschach is.
Is it going to be someone we know?
I'm thinking it is going to be someone who...
Psychologist?
That was my first thought.
Oh,
whose name is, they call out in the solicitations or the ads in the back here, Dr. Malcolm Long. Oh. I think it's going to be his son.
Oh.
They tease in Watchmen, not tease quite so much, but they hint at the fact that Dr. Malcolm Long, the psychiatrist who becomes obsessed with Rorschach, has a son, and
not doing too well.
Malcolm Long dies in the end of Watchmen, supposedly. Maybe he survived somehow, but maybe his son has, because of his father's obsession, has like delved into his case files and stuff, and it has become obsessed himself.
Maybe.
That's my guess.
Chances are a lot of people died because, the ending of Watchmen.
Yeah, he was in New York in the streets when the bomb went off. Did you have any thoughts about the writing here?
Well, I also want to look at this because you see, we have all up until Veidt gets introduced. Ozymandias, we see him and he has this cool collected look on his face, as he always does, and then we go through. He has got this calm smile, and then on this third page, Doug, do you have it open?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, on this third page of his introduction, where he's going through, he has the news on, he's thinking about it, and he's got the stuff, we see him just cringe with anger and stuff like that, which is something that's kind of different with him. It's the only time we see him show any sort of form of emotion. Yep. So, I don't know, we're dealing with a different kind of Ozymandias here, I think.
Well, I mean, the point of that particular reveal where he's very calm and then all of a sudden kind of freaks out is because he has a brain tumor, which is the reveal there that he's dying of cancer.
What? Where do you see that?
He says, "Yes, I also have cancer." At the end of they say, "What's wrong with him?" Rorschach says, "He's an asshole," and then he says, "Yes, I also have cancer." They also showed his
tumor on
what
the
we
X-ray.
have to assume earlier in the issue were his X-rays at the very beginning of the issue, which are in his lab in the Arctic. X-ray of his head with a giant tumor in it. Which is kind of dramatic irony, considering he faked Dr. Manhattan giving a bunch of his associates, his friends and family, cancer by giving them cancer and then leaking that it was Dr. Manhattan.
That's great.
Yeah, so that's kind of some good comeuppance for him.
Oh no, I'm terrible though. I can't believe I missed it.
read slower.
I saw him say I also have cancer. I got that, but dang, that's some continuity right there.
I think Gary Frank is a really good fit for a modern kind of interpretation of the kind of art that Dave Gibbons, the original artist, did. It's this very very strong basic figure work with lots of hatching and lots of they're very emotive, but also kind of stiff in a way.
What's hatching?
Cross hatching, when you show shading on a character by drawing lots of little lines, basically.
Okay. By the way, everybody, if we have time, we're gonna later go into this thing about talking about art in this. So I really want to know what hatching and stuff means because I had never heard of that. And as opposed to in terms of eggs.
Mm-hmm. Also, they hatch a lot of eggs.
Well, that's neither here nor there.
But anyway, you're making a point of trying to pay more attention to the art in books, I think, was the impression I'm getting.
Well,
so what was your kind of impression of the art in this on its own and in comparison to the original Watchmen?
I don't have the original Watchmen in front of me because that's not here right now, but I guess I can look. I don't know. In general, they do show a lot more shadows, I guess. Is that what you mean by hatching? There's so much.
It's more that it's a lot of line work. It's a lot of very they're showing the shape of these characters through a lot of small lines. That's kind of Gary Frank's style, as opposed to letting kind of basic figure line work and coloring do the job.
Okay, I'm looking at a picture from the original Watchmen here, and it looks like, God, it looks very much more shady, and I think I see what you mean by the hatching thing. Like, it looks like the original, it looks a lot brighter, but there's a lot more contrast as well. Do you know what I mean?
In the new one?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dave Gibbons' style is much flatter than this, much more kind of simple line work than like the amount of detail that Gary Frank puts into his line work here. Just a different style, but I think they're very similar in feel, the two of them.
Okay. Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things. Anyway, I was very impressed by this as a first issue, and I'm really excited to see where this goes. Like, I'm someone who was very skeptical of them integrating the Watchmen at first, but like, honestly, at the end of the day, they're going to continue to try to squeeze money out of the Watchmen as much as possible. And I think if they have to do it, Jeff Johns is doing a really good job of it. Like, he's making a really entertaining, really layered story here that is going to be really interesting to follow for the next year, it looks like.
Definitely. No, I'm excited. Did you read these newspaper clippings, by the way, at the back? Because I did not catch this.
Yeah, just like the original Watchmen, the end of each issue is going to have all these kind of in-world newspaper clippings and bits of reference talking about the disappearance or the theft of Dr. Malcolm Long's, or sorry, of what's the original, Walter Kovac's, Rorschach's journal, the theft of that, and how like nuclear disarmament has been kind of put off by this reveal about Ozymandias causing the death of all these people. Yeah, it's really interesting stuff. They had stuff like that in the end of all the Watchmen issues, and also in the trades.
See, I remember that because I remember. Well, I wasn't reading Watchmen when it was, but I read.
They have them in the collected editions as well.
Oh no, yeah. No, I just didn't realize like they were always at the end. I guess the way I thought I don't know. I didn't get comics when I was reading this originally. I don't understand how they were released or anything like that. I didn't even know they were released monthly. I had no idea. Seriously,
it's a whole new world for you.
A whole new world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll stop. Okay, so cool. Yeah, love that. Big fan. Gonna keep that on.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Doom Patrol, Jack.
Oh, good Doom Patrol.
Doom Patrol number 9. It's been quite a while since we got another issue.
2.5 months or some.
Yeah, you just kind of got caught up to the series before they went on this enormous, I assume, some sort of break.
So annoying.
Between issues.
Art here very similar to Watchmen, obviously.
This book is like tonally like almost opposites. We were talking about how it was kind of tonal whiplash going back and forth between. I read this after Doomsday Clock, and you read this before going into Doomsday Clock, and we both read them like in direct sequence, and so it was like this whiplash of like dark, morose, like horrible things and ideas, and then go into Doom Patrol, and it's just this explosion of color and weird, goofy surrealism. And for background, for anyone who doesn't know, we're really big fans of Grant Morrison's run in the 80s on Doom Patrol. It's one of my favorite comics of all time, and this series is a really good successor to that.
It's great. And they have the horniest main character ever.
Yeah, which I assume she wants to sleep with everyone now. She slept with a weird cat person last issue, and she slept with her roommate, or I don't know if they actually slept together or not, but she slept with her roommate, Terry Nunn.
Fell out a window.
Yeah, they jumped out of a window, and then she had a parachute on. Anyway, I assume that's this shit stuff.
I really think so.
This mysterious product that she's like apparently addicted to, because she's like jonesing for it in the beginning of the scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're
should we go from the beginning? I mean, we left this off with these "Say I Love You" robots.
These robots who are obsessed with getting other people to say they love each other, which is very strange.
Yeah.
And they defeat him by having Jane tell Robot Man that I hate your guts, and then to like
to
explain her hatred for him, and that weakens them enough so that Flex Mentallo and Negative Man can take them
Flex
out.
Mentallo, not Mentalo?
I go back and forth. I'm not sure. I think Grant Morrison says Mentallo. I'm not sure.
I love that Jane says "suck eggs," and that's the last thing that she says.
It's so
what?
Suck eggs.
Just suck eggs. Doug, suck eggs.
It's such a silly sounding insult.
Love it. And these guys come out. Yeah. Oh, it's Nolan. I am here. So this is something from that run too, right? Nolan is here.
Is it?
I swear, because
like I knew.
I swear this was something that we've known before. Like it's some reference. It's Nolan. I am here. Nolan is here. Something like that. I remember that for some reason
from Grant Morrison's run.
I thought so, or maybe it was from before this run.
I'll have to go back and look that up. But I assume that was just this guy's name, Nolan. They seem to be some sort of couple.
Maybe we saw it when the robots were being unleashed or something like that.
The big thing that happened this issue was one, we meet we meet two kind of behind the scenes manipulators who seem to be the big villains of this arc. One, we meet a character who I think is saying his name is The Disappointment.
Yes.
We've been waiting to see who this character was, and when we see him, he's this white silhouette wearing a red cape, and his chest on the white silhouette says, "Withheld due to copyright." Oh, it's so good. And then we see like what apparently seems he's holding a comic book that apparently it looks like it's him before he was apparently censored.
Where is that? I don't see that.
Next page after that reveal.
Oh, yes.
Comic book, and he's got like the same boots and cape and stuff.
Now, when he was talking about the wedding and everything, I was reminded of Red Jack in this big room and everything. And he's talking about like being God and Master of Dreams and everything like that. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's a theme with kind of the villains in Doom Patrol, is these kind of like weird, omnipotent characters who want to control everything.
No, I know, but he's also talking about his like wedding and everything like that, and his whole storyline is marrying someone, right? In Grant Morrison's? Do you remember that? Marrying the one woman who was in a coma, and she wasn't part of the Doom Patrol, but she used to be a part of the Doom Patrol. Maybe it was like, shoot.
I know what you're talking about in Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol.
Yeah, in Grant Morrison's. I don't know. Never mind. Probably has nothing to do with it, but yeah, it's a disappointment though.
Yeah, and then we also find out that, of course, behind this, this kind of this product that everyone is becoming addicted to, shit is the name of the product. This guy with these really goofy glasses that I should have noticed look exactly like the head of, surprise, Mr. Nobody, one of the big villains of Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol.
The leader of the Brotherhood of Dada.
Yep, originally the leader of the Brotherhood of Dada. And now he's decided to rebrand this group to be more modern, apparently, as the Brotherhood of Nada. Because I guess just because nobody knows what Dada is anymore would be my guess.
I mean,
Dada,
he does.
Dada, well, back in the 80s, that was much more of a thing, or at least up in people's knowledge.
Yeah.
He's got an equally absurd team of villains. He makes Lucius... don't remember that character's last name. this kid into the great Ludini, the teenage nothing.
Oh yeah, Lucius Fox, I think his name is.
No,
Reynolds. Sorry,
is Reynolds? Is that his last name?
Yes.
Yeah, he's the son of
the other driver, the EMT guy,
Frank's coworker. Yep, EMT Sam Reynolds.
Yeah. So, Doug, who is your favorite of the Brotherhood of Nada?
Of these new Brotherhood of Nada, let's see. Let's recap what we've got here. We've got the Brutalist, who's that's an art movement, isn't it? Brutalism.
I think so.
She's like
Daisy
this, like
Langdon.
She's this like stone angled, like cube looking monstrosity. Says the caption is no feeling. We've got Hector, the boy detector, who's this little boy in this like 50s looking jetpack and spacesuit, and he's got like a metal detector that he can detect anything with. And metal detector of alien origin. Caption says no hiding. We've got
50% Chad.
50% Chad is the name of this character, who is a giant. Looks like 8+ feet of just man legs, hairy man legs, wearing white socks and tighty whities, nothing above the waist.
Here, can I just
literally just starts like flat at the top of the tighty whities, and then 8 feet of giant hairy man legs.
Just for everybody not reading this, let me just say this one quote. Nobody knows where they came from. Did they belong to someone else? Someone large? Is there more Chad?
Is there more Chad?
How could anyone oh gosh.
So good. The caption there, no pants.
No pants.
We got Alice DeBreeze, the Breeze, who's apparently just some spoiled rich kid who's good at everything. It says no problem. Yeah, that's the caption. And then we've got the great Ludini. All of them led by Mr. Nobody. If we're discounting Mr. Nobody, probably 50% Chad. I mean, it has to be.
You can't really
50% Chad is maybe creation of the year at this point.
Like, how do you beat that? I have no idea.
How do you beat this? It says a breath of his cloud of desperation will make anyone quit. That's apparently his power. His cloud of desperation will make anyone quit.
Where's he breathe it from? Oh my god, is he gonna fart it?
I assume this is just like an aura around him at all times. I was imagining it more as like his stench, just in general.
I can do that. A whiff of failure, the clammy skin. Okay, no, I can take that. I'll take that. Yeah.
50% Chad for president.
I'll take it. Yeah.
This book's great. It's just absurd and silly, and the writing is so like it captures the spirit of the old Doom Patrol stuff, the good Doom Patrol stuff.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it's great.
And then basically, we end with the Reynolds getting the sculpting clay and realizing their Dr. Ludini is gone.
Yeah.
Thanks for nothing. That's so sad. It's like, did they really ever? Like, it's just that they didn't understand him, I guess. Like, come on, you kids.
He's just an angsty teen. Like, that's like he's insisting that they don't understand him, even though they're just trying to bond with him. But he's obsessed with like the occult and stuff. So I guess it makes sense. He becomes this magician villain in the Brotherhood of Nada. But yeah, great stuff.
Love it. Love it.
And then we've got our last shared book for the week. We've got Thanos, number 13, new creative team of Donny Cates and Jeff Shaw. I did not realize that I forgot that Jeff Shaw is the artist that worked with Donny Cates on God Country, which is the series that kind of turned me onto Donny Cates.
Oh.
And the art in that is fantastic. So I was very happily surprised to see his art again here working. It works really well with Donny Cates' writing. And I just want to say, like, this is like, I liked Doctor Strange last week. Doctor Strange was was good.
Yeah.
This is the Donny Cates that made me want to read more books from him.
Yeah?
Like, this is the style of writing that, like, I wanted more of after God Country.
It's really cool. I've never even imagined something like based on, I don't know much about Thanos, obviously, but something based on this character that I just know as an all-powerful evil guy. Like, it's really interesting and cool. Like, I really love it. By the way, everybody, on our new social media presence, the Donny Cates liked one of our posts.
Very exciting.
Okay, in any case, but yeah, this is great. It's great.
Yeah, they introduce a future version of Ghost Rider, who's apparently like this cosmic space Ghost Rider with this ridiculous Tron-y looking bike that just flies through space. It's so good.
I saw someone online. They're apparently, the mystery is who is this new Ghost Rider, right? And I saw someone online say they think it might be Loki.
Oh, really? I saw a lot of people saying that they thought it was Deadpool. But then Donny Cates was on Twitter like saying, nah, you guys are making stuff up.
I mean, they definitely got it's definitely this like quippy sort of thing with that, which, by
goofy.
The way, I was telling you earlier, like I had a simple little thing that I hope they do well. And it is quippy Ghost Rider, because I'm not, it is going to be a good, balance with Thanos's definite brooding sort of personality, but they can definitely go overboard with it. That's the only thing
I think it'll be best used as that, yes, like a balance to like the very stoic, very dark and brooding Thanos, who's always very, very grim about everything. It just contrasted with this bonkers, like ridiculous character that is this cosmic Ghost Rider who's like really silly and like quippy and funny. He also controls the the time stone, or a piece of it. So like there's this very confusing moment where like he's trying to bring Thanos in, and it looks like Thanos has just like completely destroyed him, like just blown him away, and then all of a sudden next panel Thanos is tied up and he says, by the way, I've got the time stone, and you try to do anything, and I'm just going to use this to freeze time and tie you up. And it's this really great reveal, because you turn the page and you are like very confused. Like, why is he all of a sudden tied up in chains? And you get that reveal that he has basically control over time,
but specifically part of the time stone, which is interesting.
I don't really know. There's not really a whole lot to spoil in this book, other like Thanos is out conquering planets. He conquers the Chitauri. This cosmic Ghost Rider shows up and brings him in to the future, where apparently Thanos has he has apparently taken over. He's
millions of years
from
now, it says.
It's a long time from now. Like really the good stuff in here is all in the writing. Like it's, I mean, and the art obviously, but like it's all in the telling of it. Like not much happens in this, but it's all in the style and the tone of it, is really what's appealing about this story. So
now I think, let's talk about where you think this is going to go, because I think it's just going to discover, I think this old Thanos that we come to, I think he's going to be talking to this young Thanos, be like, dude, you won, but the thrill was in getting these things. After you've already won it, it really sucks. I
don't see him with the Infinity Gauntlet, and also this version of him in the end. And Cosmic Ghost Rider has a piece of one of the stones, so somehow they've been broken. So he doesn't have some like ultimate power in the end of this, but he does seem like he's got like a crown and everything, and a throne.
And a Fu Manchu. Is that a Fu Manchu? That's not a Fu Manchu.
I don't know. It's just a beard.
Very pointy.
Beard without a mustache. which is odd seeing Thanos with facial hair, but it kind of works as like old Thanos.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does look very lonely. There's no one else around, and like the galaxy is just like crater, just like asteroids and stuff.
Yeah.
Like everything's been destroyed. I assume, yeah, that's going to be like
Main
the revelation is that like, yeah, you won, but you messed everything up.
Yeah.
Like, is this worth it?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, like there's always the problem of like telling the future like that in a book like this. Like, does that mean that there's like, where's the drama going to come from if you know where it's going to end up? But I think that is where the drama is going to come from, because like maybe he's going to eventually realize this isn't what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a really interesting tack for Thanos, because I don't know that Thanos has ever really kind of considered the idea that maybe that isn't a good thing.
It's not the winning that's actually good for him. It's the thrill of the battle or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm really glad, because I just, looked at on Twitter like that this was something that was exciting coming out. I was like, oh, that's weird. And this guy wrote Doctor Strange, so why not? But yeah, I'm a large fan.
Yeah. I think this is a really, really strong debut. This is one of the strongest like introductions to a series I've read in a while, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. Yeah, I'm not a huge on villain series, comic books about villain characters, but this kind of sold me on the idea that they could do something really interesting with it.
Why is that? Is that because they don't really?
It's hard to root for them.
Okay.
Like what do I want? Like they've done books about like the Joker and stuff before. Like I don't really want the Joker to win. Like I think that's kind of what's interesting about what the tack they're taking with this is, like they're examining that very idea. Like, is this a thing you want to happen?
Yeah.
Do you want Thanos to succeed? And I think that's that kind of key to what seems to be succeeding, at least in this first issue here, is that they're tackling that head on. What usually doesn't work about series about villains, about evil characters, and making the character kind of re-examine that. The two kinds of villain series you either get a series that's you're completely unable to connect with because it's about an evil person who's doing just shitty stuff, or they try to take a character who's a villain and make him more of an anti-hero, which I always find very unsatisfying, because it feels like you're changing the character to like from what the spirit of them is. Not that characters can't have like character development and change and stuff, but like, and when it's just for the sake of like, well, just because we want to have the book be about them, so they can't be evil. Well, then don't do the book about them if you recognize that they're not a good protagonist. But that's generally why I don't read those.
Now let me ask, because I really like also this cover specifically. I think it's a great way to get yourself in the sort of mode of it. This has to be old Thanos walking up to his, new throne. And do covers usually have any bearing on what the story actually is, or are they just sort of get you in the mood for what's going on?
It depends. They're generally kind of just mood setting. A lot of times covers will like seem to spoil events from an issue, and sometimes they actually do, but then other times they're totally misleading, like on purpose. Like there are lots of different kinds of covers. This one's just kind of basically seems to be about the idea that someday he will win. Like it's inevitable that someday he will, just because of his persistence and the amount of his power, like that he will conquer all the heroes in the Marvel universe.
And he's carrying the helm of Ghost Rider, right?
It looks like he's carrying the head of Cosmic Ghost Rider, or Ghost Rider in some form. He's holding a skull, and there's like flames and stuff coming off of it. So
is that how Ghost Rider like works? Do you just put something on, or
he like turns into Ghost Rider, like he's a person, and he like his skin flakes off and stuff, and he's a skeleton.
Okay, I gotta read more Ghost. Is there anything you can suggest with Ghost Rider that I can?
I have no idea.
No,
I've never read a Ghost Rider comic. I like when Ghost Rider shows up and stuff. I've never tried to read a Ghost Rider book. Those movies were bad.
Yeah.
Or at least that first one. I didn't see the second one they somehow made. Very strange. Nick Cage, National Treasure. I actually, oh my god, did not mean that in reference to the title.
That was a good little
Not
thing
intended.
there. I was thinking if you were going for that or
No,
not.
I just said that naturally. That's why they called it that.
Look
Because
at you.
Nick Cage is God's greatest gift
The
to man.
first one is not a terrible movie.
If you want to see a ridiculous off-the-wall Nick Cage performance, that first movie does give it to you.
National Treasure?
Oh, wait, we're talking... Oh, National Treasure. Yeah, no, National Treasure's fun. For some reason, I went back to Ghost Rider.
Yeah. Oh. No, I don't think it's very ridiculous.
Ghost Rider is good. And I was like, but National Treasure is fun. That second one is...
Yeah.
He's a...
That's fun.
shit.
I don't think I've seen the second one now. Sean Bean does die in National Treasure?
Probably. It's Sean Bean. He probably dies.
It's Sean Bean.
Yeah, cool.
In any case,
that's the end of our spoilers for the week. We might talk about some other books, but we'll talk less specifics, I think, from now on. If we talk spoilers about anything else, we'll warn you. But
and I think we'll keep all three of those.
Yeah, I think
I'm gonna keep it.
Yeah, if you're also sticking on board with all three of those, I'm definitely gonna pick up the next issues of all those. I mean, obviously, we're on issue number 9 of Doom Patrol. We're very sold on that one. But Doomsday Clock and Thanos, both very strong debuts, and I'm excited for the next issues.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So you, unlike me, picked up the next issue of Wonder Woman. Both of us had been reading Wonder Woman. We both read 34, and I forgot this was coming out. And didn't pick up Wonder Woman 35.
Rightfully.
So, what do you got to say about that?
Waste of $3.
That's wow.
God damn. It's really just. It's first of all, it's good that they're discovering this guy's backstory and everything. This entire issue is Jason, this new long lost brother. His backstory. And, it's good that they're doing that. It's great. It's what they need to do. They need to describe how he got to this point. It's just so run-of-the-mill. Like, imagine the story of Superman growing up in Kansas. Oh, you can't, tell everybody about your powers. Otherwise, they'll become, this outcast or whatever. You have to keep low. Oh, but every once in a while, he shows it to, like, save someone. He has that urge to. It's that exact same story. And the worst part about this is that at the end, wait till 2 weeks from now to see part 2 of his origin. Like, motherfucker! Like, I just read this thing. This is what you should do your origin in. Like, goddamn, you didn't need this entire thing.
Backstory on, like, a character
Seriously,
like that.
This random ass character.
Like, you don't need 2 issues worth of real estate to tell that story, especially if you're not doing anything. It sounds like they're not doing anything that's particularly innovative or groundbreaking with it. And then
the last thing that they left it off on, the cliffhanger, so to speak, is that, and I don't know, I guess the Deep Six is a thing.
I don't know what that is.
The Deep Six aren't like a villain crew. It looks like
I'm not familiar with what that means.
A thing. Okay, these motherfuckers are coming from the sea, and they're called the Deep Six, and he's like, okay, 660, doesn't matter, want to fight? And it's like, motherfucker, like, he's like, who's first? It's like, I don't want to read. I don't care about you at all. Like, there's so little caring that I give for this guy that I do not need to waste another $3 to see the rest of his origin story. It's just like, and I looked online too, like, apparently I'm not alone on this. So I'm not,
Yeah, they haven't done a whole lot to endear you to this new character who is supposedly Wonder Woman's long-lost brother, Jason. Like, they haven't done a whole lot to sell you on the idea that this is a interesting character you should care about. It's very frustrating. It's very frustrating to me because I really like some of James Robinson's early work. He was one of the, like, great narrators in comics, and he would take, like old characters and imbue them with this really vivid sense of like that they were real characters and you really got inside their heads. And it feels like there's none of that in a lot of his recent stuff. And I always want to give his new stuff a chance. And it really seems like DC's leaning into him a lot in like the end of this year. He's writing, as we're going to get into a little bit later. I don't know if it's permanent or not, but he's at least writing. He's going to be coming on Superman to write that. They're giving him he's giving him a book about the Trinity. So it's about Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. They're really leaning into James Robinson, which is cool because I like James Robinson, but like it's been a while since he's written anything that's really resonated with me. And it just feels like these very rote run-of-the-mill superhero stories that like don't have a whole lot of thought put into them. And it's disappointing.
I mean, do you think they're leaning into him because he's safe, or do you think they're giving him too many projects?
I think they're leaning in. He wasn't writing for them. He left for a while to go do other stuff. He wrote some indie stuff, and it seems like they're excited they got him back to write some books. And he is like pretty revered. A lot of his work, Starman, one of his books from the 90s, is one of my favorite series, but like so like I think his name attracts people who know who he is, but like the work he's putting out is not living up to that name, and it's I think that balloon is going to burst sooner rather than later if the readership doesn't come with it. I don't know.
Okay, so yeah, but that title, I think,
I forgot I was on the fence about taking it off my pull list or not, and I apparently did take it off and forgot. Took it off and forgot I had done that. But yeah, I'm definitely if you're this frustrated about it, I'm not going to be picking up the next issue, which is sad. I was really enjoying Greg Rucka before this, his run. I don't know. We'll see how long this lasts. I think he's at least doing a couple arcs. So we'll see.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I don't really have much else to go over with my other books. And we've been running this segment a little bit long. Did you have any other thoughts, questions before we moved on?
I asked about if I should pick out The Flash for the Flash War, if that was that big of a deal.
The Flash, cool. I wouldn't say is like a must read. I'm enjoying it, but I honestly have gone back and forth about whether or not I should be dropping it. It's not like Wonder Woman levels of this run of Wonder Woman. I mean, just levels of like rote genericness, but like is not doing anything super compelling. It's just like it's doing superhero storytelling, and it's fun, and I enjoy it, but like it's not groundbreaking. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's necessary. Okay. I really like the character Flash. I always really want to like a Flash book. We'll see if I stick on it or not. I've been reading it for 34 issues. Granted, that's been double shipping since this new series started, so it's not been that many months, but
double shipping means 2 weeks.
It means twice a month.
Issue? Twice a month.
Which doesn't necessarily mean every 2 weeks, but generally it does.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
We're going to go into some news stuff.
So news, it was a fairly light news week, but the solicitations for books coming out in February came out this week. And
okay, now here's my burning question.
Jack's burning question of the week.
What? Hey, I like that. Okay, I'll make a sound effect for
that. That's our new segment music. It's Morse code.
That's not gonna.
I'm gonna.
By the way, just so everyone knows, I wrote segment music, so I will keep doing that. But But no, what in the hell is a solicitation? What is this whole thing? Is this just like releasing all the things? Here's what we're going to be releasing or whatever. Is that basically
like this is when they announce basically some of these books they've already announced, quote unquote, like they've already said, but they hadn't said like maybe when they were coming out. Or some of these books they're announcing with this. It depends on kind of the profile of the book, if how big it is or small it is. But it's basically once a month, all the publishers put out press releases where they say this is
a month.
Yeah, because they do it. They do it a few months ahead. These are going to be for February, but every month they put out here's what's going to be releasing in the next month out. So last month they would have done January. So that stores and customers can plan accordingly.
So you want to go through?
I highlighted some things that I'm excited about or interested in, or that could potentially be interesting. First off, we got we'll go through DC very briefly. We've got The Terrifics #1. Jeff Lemire writing this. Jeff Lemire is a writer who he wrote at DC for a little bit, wrote some really good stuff. Animal Man. His Animal Man run was really good. And then he left for to do some Marvel and independent stuff, and looks like they're getting him back with this book, and he's also writing the Hawkman Found special that's coming out sometime, I think, beginning of next year. But Ivan Reis doing art on this, who's a really, really great, like just traditional, like DC style art, superhero, big bombastic action.
Yeah, I think I remember reading something from him. Ivan Reis. I'm sure his name's been on a lot of stuff if he's as big as you say.
So. This series is, in a weird kind of meta way, DC's answer to the Fantastic Four. It's it feels in a lot of ways like Marvel is insisting that they're not going to sell Fantastic Four comics for whatever reason, whether that be because they don't want to promote movies they don't have the rights to, or because they just don't sell on their own. Who knows? It's hard to say, but this book sure feels like they're trying to make a Fantastic Four book. It's a series that is starring Mr. Terrific, the science hero, who's great, Plastic Man, Metamorpho, and a character who I'm not super familiar with, Phantom Girl. This is a series that's going to be spinning out of Dark Knight's Metal, and is going to feature Alan Moore creation Tom Strong, who has not up until this point been even remotely connected to the DC universe. He was in his own thing. He was a kind of a science hero.
Now,
apparently he's being integrated into the DC universe as well.
In this little blurb here, you say, or they have like find themselves literally bound together by a tragic accident. Are they gonna? I wonder if they're gonna be like a. Isn't that weird?
I do say that they find themselves literally bound together by a tragic accident.
So it's going to be like Buona Beast. This
they're
is
going
so relevant.
They're going to form one giant Megazord of a person. No.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll find out exactly what that means. I assume that's purposeful. That word
from the writers of Power Rangers.
God. Okay. Yeah. Never mind. But yeah, this I'm pretty excited for this for a number of reasons. I like, other than this character I don't know, Phantom Girl. I love all of these characters. I love Mr. Terrific. I love Metamorpho. I love Plastic Man. Jeff Lemire is a really good writer. I've been reading some of his. I read his DC stuff. I've been reading some of his Marvel and independent stuff, Image stuff, I should say. And I'm excited for him to write more DC stuff. Ivan Reis is a really strong artist, and Tom Strong is great. It's a really great Alan Moore series, and I'm excited to see more Tom Strong.
Yeah, I would love to learn more about these random ass characters. So
Yeah.
I this might be one of them that I
Yeah.
do.
So that looks cool.
But obviously, I like this next one.
So starting in February, and looks like just going through February, Young Animal, the imprint that Doom Patrol is at, which is run by Gerard Way, the writer of Doom Patrol, is doing a crossover with kind of the core DC books. So each of the Young Animal books is doing a crossover issue with another DC book. So this first one is JLA and Doom Patrol. The second one,
Justice League of America, right?
Justice League of America, which is a specific book separate from Justice League, written by Steve Orlando.
Okay.
So Steve Orlando and Gerard Way are writing this. The second one is Mother Panic and Batman, which is a Young Animal book about a kind of Batman-related character, Batman-inspired character. I've not read that or this other book, which is Shade the Changing Girl, who's doing a crossover with Wonder Woman. The next one is Cave Carson Has a Cybernetic Eye, which is crossing over with Swamp Thing. Which Cave Carson Has a Cybernetic Eye is a fantastic book. It's really good.
Really?
It's the only other Young Animal book I'm reading. Although I am really curious about these other books, and I have been regretting not jumping on them because they also sound great.
Yeah.
And then finally, the last issue in this crossover is Doom Patrol and JLA again. And I think that, as far as I understand, this is they call it. There is a series, is a story called Milk Wars, and it is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-part story going through these 5 specials through these different crossover stories. It's featuring a central villain who is named Milkman Man.
Milkman
Man.
Milkman Man. It's really just not. It's not just
Milkman Man.
It's Milkman Man.
He's a superhero, Jack, and his theme is he's a milkman. He's Milkman Man.
Is that like Golden Age sort of making fun of that?
It seems like a Golden Age parody as seen through the lens of like a Doom Patrol style villain. It feels very, very Grant Morrison, very Gerard Way, Doom Patrol. But this JLA Doom Patrol thing seems to be the anchor. They're the intro and outro of this story. But I'll probably pick up these other books so that I can get the whole story here. I don't have a whole lot of like background with these other characters, Mother Panic or Shade the Changing Girl. But if this is a story that could introduce me to them, and I've been sort of interested in maybe checking out those books, I'm curious to see where this goes. And also, I cannot resist that this Mother Panic Batman special #1 features a character apparently named Father Batman, who is a reverend version of Batman.
Oh gosh! Do you want to put this on the required comics covered reading list?
We'll put some of this our highlights out there maybe, but very excited for those. It's going to be ridiculous. They're all written by different by the regular writers of these series, so like they're probably going to vary in quality, but like I'm excited for just the bonkers nature of these characters.
I just realized that these come out every single week.
Yeah, because it's running through all of these different young Animal series. So these are basically the issues they're specials. They're not actually the issues of Doom Patrol or JLA or any of these other series. They're specials, but they're kind of they are specials for each of these series. Yeah, and they're coming out weekly, every week in February. So that's interesting. Really quick, Liam Sharp, the artist from Greg Rucka's run on Wonder Woman, is starting a Batman and Wonder Woman book called The Brave and the Bold, which is a classic DC title that they're kind of co-opting for this.
I actually read about this.
I don't really know anything about this. I may or may not pick it up. It's being written and drawn by Liam Sharp. I've never read anything.
Yeah, Liam Sharp apparently has never
Is
written
that true?
anything.
Yeah, I was about to say, I've never read anything really written by Liam Sharp.
I saw an interview by him, and he said he really liked the work that they did together, Rucka and him, on Wonder Woman, and he wanted to kind of continue that, even though Rucka was leaving. So maybe this is your calling, Doug. Maybe this is the continuation.
I really liked Rucka's run on Wonder Woman. If it follows up on the ideas in that, I'm interested in that. I'll probably at least try the first issue. It's, hit or miss first-time writers. So
I'll wait for your word on that. I'll let you do
But
that.
yeah, I'll probably at least check it out, depending on how busy that week is for comics. We've got Green Lantern Earth 1 is coming out. This has been long. This has been in the works for a long time. Are you aware of the Earth 1 books? It's a series of graphic novels. So this is what, since you're new to this would be called an OGN, original graphic novel. Which means that instead of coming out in issues, it's a book, and it comes out, and you read it.
Oh, so it's 144 pages.
Yeah, so this is a book. It's $25. It's a standalone story. These Earth 1 books, they're basically like they're reimaginings of these different characters. They've come out with Earth 1 books for Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Teen Titans.
Are any of the other ones?
The Batman one is by Jeff Johns, and it's pretty good. The Wonder Woman one is by Grant Morrison, and it's at least interesting. If you want to try it, it's
You've read it, or yeah?
I have. I own it. I've been thinking about getting rid of it. It's good. It's not a classic. But this one looks like they're taking Green Lantern and they're making it into like a hard sci-fi story. Which sounds really interesting, by Gabe Hardman, who does a lot of like hard sci-fi comics, and so that sounds like it sounds cool.
The cover
looks really good. He is writing and doing the art here, or he's co-writing with Karina Betko.
Do you find that you like it when writers? The writing and the art is by the same person?
It varies.
Are there specific people?
Some people, when they are doing both the writing and art, you get this very singular, pure vision of what they want that works better than anything else in comics. And other times it feels stretched, like they had trouble keeping up with both. Or sometimes they're just not as good at either the writing or the art as they are at the other. So it varies. But Gabe Hardman does a lot of writing and art. And I haven't read a whole lot of his stuff, but I've heard generally very good things about his work. So I'm very curious to check this out and see what it's like. I'll probably pick it up. Yeah. And then this silly thing, we've got Young Monsters in Love #1, which is a Valentine's special from DC about their monster characters. Aww. We got Swamp Thing and Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein on the cover here.
So wait, DC just has rights to Frankenstein?
Frankenstein is a public domain character. Movie Frankenstein is not. The film version of Frankenstein with the bolts, that visual is not public domain. That is copyrighted. But the character of Frankenstein from the novel, not copyrighted. And they have Frankenstein is a character who exists canonically in the DC universe. It's kind of their take on him. I've tried to read some stuff with him before. It's been hit or miss, but he as a character is kind of fun. I like when he shows up in stuff. It's silly. It probably won't be good, but I kind of like these holiday specials. Although that Halloween one they came out with this year was one of the worst things I've ever read. It was really horrible. Why? It was the most just pointlessly cynical, like, what if the superheroes were evil? Like, there was no there was nothing to it. It was all just like, what if Superman crashed on the Kent's farm as a baby and murdered Ma Kent? What if that happened? What
Jeez.
if this Wonder Woman story is just a young girl who like channels the spirit of the Amazons and starts murdering men? I didn't make it through the whole thing because it was bad.
Just pointless speculation.
What now?
Just basically pointless speculation.
Well, it's not even that. Like if it's written well, like sure, but like they were just the most pointlessly like dark for no reason. There was no commentary on any of the characters. There was no kind of like insight into the characters through this weird version of them. It was just like, what if they murdered people? Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, off topic, but and then as I mentioned earlier, Superman number 40, we've got James Robinson. I'm not sure if I couldn't find evidence of this online, if he's taking over the book or if he's just doing a fill-in arc. I'm not sure. But James Robinson taking over Superman, they're leaning into him pretty hard. It's weird. Yeah.
Maybe it's they're putting too much on his plate.
I think he would be a much better fit for this than he would be for Wonder Woman. So I'm curious.
Yeah.
And Superman as of late has been okay, not great. So I'm interested in a shakeup. I'll at least check it out. Over at Marvel, we've got we're now new fans of Donny Cates, and Marvel seems to really have some faith in him because they're giving him a Doctor Strange event series called Doctor Strange Damnation. Got number 1 come out in February.
Okay. Now, when you say event series, what is that just a bigger arc, like something that some shit's going to go down?
Generally, it indicates that it's a more kind of bigger stakes story. What it kind of means here is that, like, one, it's going to be larger than just Doctor Strange. Other characters are going to be involved. You can see that on the cover here.
Yeah.
Generally, that's what it means, is that it's to some sort of degree a crossover between characters, although it's going to focus on Doctor Strange. It also means that it's a separate series. It's an event series. It is not going taking place in Doctor Strange. It is a book called Doctor Strange Damnation, which is apparently a 5-issue miniseries. And I'm super curious to see Donny Cates write a really cool, big stakes Doctor Strange story.
And I see this Mephisto. They mentioned that in Thanos.
Yep, Mephisto is basically the devil. He is often a Doctor Strange villain.
Oh, so is he in charge of who is Ghost Rider?
I believe he is the one who Ghost Rider is in service of Mephisto. I think.
Okay, that's why Thanos, when Ghost Rider first comes, he's like, "Oh, what does Mephisto want?" He's like, "Not really."
Ghost Rider traditionally is a servant of Mephisto. He has made a pact with him.
Okay, I'll take it.
I don't really have a whole lot of insight into what this next thing is. We've got Infinity Countdown, Adam Warlock number 1. All I know is Adam Warlock hasn't been around for a while, and Adam Warlock is a really big character in Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War, anything that to do with the Infinity Gauntlet, the item. Adam Warlock is kind of there, and he's coming back. They're doing some sort of, I don't know if this is a one shot or if this is the start of a new series. Yeah, it's his one shot. So this is a one-off special about Adam Warlock coming down in, apparently, it says Infinity Countdown. So I assume that means this is going to be a series called Infinity, and this is a lead-in to it. Well, I'm pretty sure they just had an event series called Infinity a couple years ago. But anyway, weird.
Wait, so do you think, is Adam Warlock going to show up in these movies?
They teased him at the end of Guardians 2. He was in that, in that weird cocoon in one of the post-credit sequences.
Oh, I'll call him Adam.
That's them teasing Adam Warlock, although it sounded recently in talks with James Gunn like they're not sure if he's been trying to get him into the movies, and Marvel, it seems like isn't super on board with it, and he managed to get that post-credit scene approved at the last moment. But yeah, he may or may not end up in the movies. We'll see. Adam Warlock's cool.
Okay.
He's this morally ambiguous space wizard sort of, who's always kind of on the lookout to keep people from gaining the ultimate power that the Infinity Gauntlet provides.
Okay, so is he kind of the Dr. Fate of Marvel?
He's more cosmic and more anti-hero than Dr. Fate, and he's also more sci-fi than just being like a sorcerer. Yeah, he's cool. He's mostly cool because he's like in the same way that like the new gods at DC are, like, it's like when Adam Warlock shows up, and he shows up kind of infrequently, you're like, oh shit, some shit's going down. Adam Warlock's here. It's like this big indicator that like big stuff's happening, you know.
Okay.
At Image, we've got Mark Millar coming back to do a new Kick-Ass book. There's also a new Hit Girl book. I've never read Kick-Ass,
Images now,
but he's still doing that, I guess. Saga's been away for a while. Brian K. Vaughan's big sci-fi series. It's amazing. It's been gone for a while they kind of, I think, they call them trade breaks, basically. Which is basically at the end of each arc, a lot of Image books take a big break so that they can kind of get ahead on their work.
I'm laughing at this cover. Breaking news, we're all completely fucked.
Yeah, and they kind of cut off the end of the word fucked because they can't put it on the cover. But
yeah,
we got...
oh, is that really? They can't swear on the covers?
No, it's a book that goes in a store where children go to buy comics. You can't just put that on the shelves. You can't just in your book that you put in a bookstore, you can't just title it "fuck, Jack."
I mean, because no one will carry it.
Because you can't just. Yeah, well, yeah, no one would buy it because it's incredibly inappropriate to just put on a shelf in your store.
I'm gonna make a book called "Fuck" sometime.
Just
I'm
fuck.
just gonna put it on the just fuck. That's it.
Quote.
My girl
quote,
Sam
fuck.
has a book called "Fuck."
It's a
Sam has a book called "Fuck Feelings." Samantha,
she probably ordered it online.
I think that's probably you're right.
But anyway, yeah. But this series is really good, and really the only reason I put it on here because I'm excited for it to come back because this is going to be a long time from now. I'm only now just realizing this is months and months from now. Oh no. Anyway, and
oh wow, yeah, it's only
Finally, Dark Horse. There's a new Hellboy and the BPRD miniseries coming out, which I mentioned because I've been reading these. I am not super current on current Hellboy events because there's so much of it, and it's all very serialized storytelling. But I have been reading these Hellboy and the BPRD miniseries. They every time one of these finishes, they start a new one, and they're just like their little mini series about the early days of Hellboy. So they're pretty new reader friendly in that way because they're about his early days. You don't need to know a whole lot of continuity or anything. They're just kind of fun little like Hellboy investigating supernatural and occult mysteries.
Now, so are
this
they?
This one is 1955 Burning Season is the title of this new one.
So do they does Dark Horse create like a fuck ton of they do a lot of Hellboy because they that's their biggest by far
definitely is.
Title.
There are a lot of Hellboy books.
Okay.
Lots of spin-offs. It's they squeeze a lot of stuff out of Hellboy. But Mike Mignola, the creator of Hellboy, is almost always involved in some way, at least on like a basic creative level. And he co-writes all of these. And other people do the art. Paulo Rivera is a great, very old style artist who did a previous one of these series called Beyond the Fences, and he's doing the art on this, and he's great. So that should be exciting. Looks like there's dinosaurs. Hellboy's going to fight some dinosaurs, probably. And he's going to probably say, oh, crap.
Well, you know, 1955.
Because Hellboy says, oh, crap.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I said, you know, 1955, dinosaurs were running around.
I mean, that's just a fact everyone knows.
Obviously.
All right. That was the solicitations. Probably took longer than I was anticipating.
So, okay, I'm sorry. Another question about solicitations. All of these publishing companies, these different companies, they all release this on the same day?
Not on the same day,
week?
but they all came out kind of relatively within the same week. Again, this is a thing that's pretty much specifically for retailers, so that because they have to order them ahead of time. But I like looking at them because I like knowing what's coming out. So,
well, yeah, it's good to know. I mean, I
get excited.
Good stuff to look out for. So, like, not everybody reads these February solicitations.
A lot of people just go into the store. A lot of people don't even look at what's coming out any week. They just go into the store and they look at the shelf. But I am too obsessed to like about knowing what's coming ahead of time. So, yeah. Yeah, so that took a little while. So we'll just kind of skim through these other news stories.
Yeah. I'm sorry if I ask questions, by the way. Like, I know that's the whole idea, but
that's
like
your role in all of this,
so
Jack,
much
is to ask the questions. You are the audience surrogate.
There's
here
so much
in a lot of ways
that's specific about this industry. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's it's just crazy to me. I don't know. It's. I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Imagine
all of it,
having never like seen a movie, and then all of a sudden someone starts explaining the film industry to you. Imagine how insane that would sound.
I would put it akin to how I made you go to a wrestling event
and trying
to explain.
That was a lot of information to take in at once.
It's a lot. So I guess it makes sense. We'll start a wrestling podcast after this.
That would only be fair, I suppose.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put it
so
on
update on a story we talked about last week, which was that Disney was looking to acquire Fox 20th Century Fox's film wing. It sounded like that was kind of a little bit of a standstill, but apparently the chum is in the water for everyone knows now that Fox is maybe looking to sell that stuff. So apparently Sony, Comcast, and Verizon all are in talks now to potentially acquire that. So I'm guessing we're gonna, I don't know. I could see it going either way, but I wouldn't be surprised if we hear sometime in the next year that someone has acquired them. Someone will put enough money on the table if this many people are trying to buy it, but maybe not as well. It's a really big thing, and it sounded like they were kind of on the fence about whether they were even going to do it or not. Anyways.
Here's my dystopian future prediction. Comcast and Verizon, both lobbying, the net neutrality, take it away. I feel like they want to create a streaming service that is the fastest thing you're going to get, internet-wise, going to get delivered right to your TV.
The name in
super no
fast
problems.
internet that you know and love, Comcast and Verizon. Very dependable, fast internet. Good customer service.
No, I just think that them getting away from net neutrality is going to be able to, if they also have a streaming service with things like from 20th Century Fox, which is a lot of stuff, they might be able to get a streaming service off the ground that is really, really fast, really reliable, and super great quality. With,
and they can pay to bottleneck all the other services once this passes.
Yeah. So
good.
Cool, fun, dystopian future.
Anyway, not much to report there other than that's still ongoing. Other people are trying to buy them now. This is a bit of confusing news. It's confusing and not confusing, depending on your knowledge of the subject. So they're making a Captain Marvel movie. We knew that, correct?
I thought Captain Marvel was a girl.
She is. The Captain Marvel. Brie Larson is playing Carol Danvers in the movie, who is kind of in the modern age Captain Marvel. They just cast Jude Law in the movie, and he is playing Captain Marvel. And he's playing Marvel, who is in the comics the original Captain Marvel.
But is also a dude or a girl.
The version that is going to be the main character in the movie is going to be Carol Danvers, who is a woman. Yes.
Okay.
who originally was not Captain Marvel. She was a character named Ms. Marvel, who got her powers from Captain Marvel, from Marvel, and then when he died, she became Captain Marvel. So there's probably going to be some sort of actual passing of the torch in the movie where she'll get her powers from him and he'll probably die, or he'll train her and then die or something, or maybe he won't die. I don't know, but
it's a whole Hank. This isn't that confusing. It's a whole Hank Pym, Scott Lang, and what they did with Ant-Man.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, maybe he'll already have been retired or something. I don't know. But yeah, he's playing Marvel. That is MAR-VEL in the movie, which is interesting. Yeah, I like Jude Law. Be cool to see him in a Marvel movie.
Favorite role, Sherlock Holmes, Game of Shadows.
It comes back. God,
full circle. We have themes.
We have callbacks here.
Yeah.
Finally here, Justice League opened this last weekend. We'll talk about it in a minute, about the actual movie itself. But it had a little bit of a disappointing opening. It was tracking to open at about 100 million. Ended up at the end of the weekend getting about 94 million. And this is a movie that had a $300 million budget. As opposed to what did we say? Thor had an $180 million budget.
Yeah. Well, wait. I got this all up right here. I think it's great. Here we go. Thor Ragnarok. Are we talking?
Yep. Thor Ragnarok
on here was budget of 180 million, and opening weekend was 122.7.
122.
So almost half the budget, but just crazy bunch. It's just insane.
And they 120 is 120. What was that? 127. Is a pretty good opening weekend. It's not like their most successful movie ever, but it's a very successful movie. 94 million is, for the amount of money they put into this, pretty damn disappointing, considering it's their Avengers. It's the movie that should have, by all accounts, from probably their numbers, their expectations, made more money than any of their previous movies combined. And
I'm glad you said the Avengers, because in 2012 their budget was 220 million, and do you know what? Do you have this open? Their opening weekend is 207.4 million. That's the return on that.
DC was probably hoping for something at least closer to that, and they made less money than I'm pretty sure Wonder Woman made more money than this. I'm pretty sure Thor recently just made more money than this.
Wonder Woman, the budget was 149 million and made 103.3 million on its opening. Yeah. Man of Steel made 116.6 million on its opening with a 225 million. It's just sad.
Yeah, that. And it's sad. I'll get into the movie in a second here, but or I'll just get right into the movie. It's sad because it does feel like they are at least somewhat starting to try to right the ship there in a way that doesn't make me want to completely write off these movies. I'm not saying that the movie is good per se, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's bad either. It's very tonally confused. I won't get into
because of those 20% of the reshoots, right?
They reshot a lot of the movie. It's not confused in that it's whiplash, tonal all over the place, but it's it never settles on any one thing is really the thing. I can never nail down what they were going for in the movie. It doesn't feel like a Zack Snyder movie, but it doesn't feel like parts of it are Zack Snyder, parts of it are Joss Whedon. It just doesn't really feel like a Zack Snyder movie. Doesn't feel like a Joss Whedon movie. Doesn't feel like anything they've been doing at DC. It doesn't feel like a Marvel movie, and it doesn't really have a particular feeling of its own. it's just kind of stuff happening on screen. And there are moments in it that are really, really strong. There are moments that really start to seem to really get the characters finally. And this is disregarding Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman was the first great movie they've made. But like...
You would say great?
Yeah, it was great. It was very good, I'd say.
Okay.
It was solid.
Okay.
It was a good movie. It wasn't like... It didn't reinvent the superhero movie, but it was a good superhero movie.
Compare it to another movie. Similar movie. How do you say it compares to Captain America First Avenger, for example?
I love Captain America First Avenger.
Okay, so... okay.
It's not as good as that. But not everyone loves that movie, but I love it. It's like Wonder Woman is better than like the good but not amazing Marvel movies, I'd say. It's better than Ant-Man, I'd say.
Ant-Man? Okay, I think that's a good place for it to... Okay,
like, cool. I enjoyed Ant-Man quite a bit. And I think Wonder Woman was a better movie than that. Like, okay. So these are going to be minor spoilers here, but I want to give 2 small anecdotes from the story that kind of create a sense of, like, exactly what the tonal shifts in this movie are. Okay. So like the stuff that really works and seems to get the characters, and the stuff that seems to double down on the shit that's really frustrating about these movies. Okay. So there's a scene where the team has finally sort of come together. Again, spoilers, not huge spoilers. It's not going to spoil the movie for you, but these are moments from the movie. The team has come together and they are in a face-off with, this is kind of their first real bit of work together as a team. And they're facing Steppenwolf, the villain of the movie. And they've got a bunch of, he and his lackeys, the parademons, have a bunch of civilians trapped in a room. And they're about to go in and fight him. And Flash pulls Batman aside and says, dude, I've never done this before. Like, I'm afraid. Like, I've never really fought anybody before. I'm super fast. I just run in, I push someone out of the way, and then I run away. Like, I'm not someone who engages in fights. No one's ever, like, caught me enough to fight me. And this is freaking me out. And so Batman said, he very calmly, he says to Flash, he says, just save one. Just run in there. We're going to start the fight. Run in there, grab one person, and take them out. Don't worry about fighting. Don't worry about anything else that's happening, what we're doing, what Steppenwolf is doing. Just save one person. And so they run in, and they start fighting, and Flash gathers up his courage. He runs in, grabs someone, pulls him out. And then there's a moment where he's standing there and he's looking around and he's just waiting. And he hears the sound from the other room of them fighting. And he looks at this person he's saved and he's like, all right. And he runs back in. And he saves another person. And through the rest of this fight scene, Flash doesn't fight anyone. He just, one by one, pulls out all of the civilians. While everyone else is fighting the big threat. So that's one moment. And that's a moment that I think really understands what these characters should be and how to write them and how to capture the spirit of them. Then there's another moment. So I don't think...
Wait 1 second.
What now?
Can I just comment? I think it'd be really funny if he ran in and like he didn't pay attention to who it was and he brought out like a pair of demons. It's like looking around like, oh, darn it. Okay, in any case, but I like that. That sounds like a cool, interesting.
It's a really,
like,
it's a nice
idea.
It's a nice moment of like real character development in the middle of an action sequence that nods its head to Batman's ability to lead, Flash's like real human feelings about being new at this, like gives a sense of who his character is, and gives him a very small, really satisfying character arc in the span of like a minute.
Yeah, which is hard to do in the midst of an action scene.
Exactly,
all the time.
It's great. And then later in the movie, I don't think this is technically a spoiler. If you've looked at any of the marketing for this movie, will not spoil anything for you. Superman is in this movie. Okay.
No.
He's dead at the beginning of the movie. He died at the end of Batman v Superman, but he's in this movie. So he comes back from
Lex Luthor's man-child.
For whatever, however, comes back from the dead. Okay, so Superman is back. Superman is standing on the crumbled remnants of a monument to him. Okay, and the Justice League shows up to receive him, and he doesn't know who he is. They say, and he's angry, and he's glaring at them. Just wait. So Superman is about to face off with them, and they're trying to de-escalate the situation and saying, Superman, you don't know what's happening. We're here to help.
Mm-hmm.
Cyborg raises his gun. His hand turns into a gun, and he says, my suit's defense mechanisms, I can't help it. And he shoots Superman. And then Superman proceeds to beat the living shit out of everyone, pick up Batman, and ask him, do you bleed? A callback, a very clever callback to the other movie where they fought to the death. Just gets in this horrible fight completely based on frustrating misunderstandings that seems to want to do nothing with these characters other than watch them punch each other with no real character insight or anything. It just wants to watch them punch. And it's doubling down on all of the worst parts of Justice League. Granted, that is not the whole movie, and I would say there are more of those good moments than there are those incredibly frustrating ones. And that was the worst one.
Part.
But, so I'd say on its net value, this is a movie that is entertaining. I did enjoy it. But it does retain bits of what is frustrating about these movies. And in that way, it doesn't completely right the ship, but it does start to turn it in a direction that is hopeful. That is a good direction for these movies.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
You should have ended with a good thing. Okay. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna have to watch it. I'm gonna have to do it, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. It'll be in the near future. I'll try and do it, and yeah.
Yep.
Oh, hey, maybe they'll turn this around and they'll be like, hey, this is a part of the dark multiverse, like from Dark Knight's Metal, and we'll end up with some weird, Doomsday Batman, Bruce Wayne, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, nice. Good thoughts.
Yep.
So any new media, other stuff coming out?
So we've got new comics coming out next week. Here's a new concept for you. We've got a fifth week. So comics. So normally a month has 4 weeks, or at least normally a month has 4 Wednesdays, I should say. Sometimes because of the timing of when those Wednesdays are, there are 5 Wednesdays. Yeah. And on that 5th Wednesday, comic book companies tend not to they don't spread out their books into that 5th week. They use it as a chance to kind of put stuff that doesn't have another place, or it's stuff that gets delayed can get put there, or stuff that
annuals? Do those come out?
What now?
Do annuals come out?
Not specifically on 5th weeks. I assume this Batman annual is put there so that they have something to put out. Generally, 5th weeks are pretty empty in terms of books. So there's not a whole lot coming out. There is a Batman annual. You aren't reading the normal Batman series. I am. I will probably pick it up. It might be something worth picking up if you're curious. It'll probably be a fairly standalone story. What now?
Okay. No. I literally just said the same thing that you just said. Okay. Like, it's going to be standalone. So.
It'll probably have hooks into the current Batman stuff. Specifically the Batman Catwoman stuff that I explained to you last week. But I think I think what it's telling is some sort of early days story about Batman and Catwoman. So it won't necessarily depend on you having a knowledge of them or anything. Okay. By Tom.
So wait, fifth weeks are like specific things with these guys that are like weird and they don't release a lot of stuff?
Comic book companies, usually it's just kind of a way for them to kind of get ahead. They don't like put out extra stuff because there's an extra Wednesday. They just like use it as I've always taken it that this was their way to get ahead in their publishing by just having this extra week in which they don't have to really put out anything.
Okay, so we're not going to have a lot of new comics on the stack next week?
We probably won't have anything shared. I don't think there was anything that you would have picked up. I'll probably read this Batman annual, so maybe I'll talk lightly about that. There's also a new creator showcase I've never from DC, which means it's basically a book of a bunch of short stories from a bunch of people who went through their writing programs. They're new writers. I don't know. Maybe I'll pick that up. Okay. I have a couple books I'm getting, but nothing super major. I'm getting. Let's see.
I'll look through and maybe I'll just catch up on my old.
Yeah, I've got a few good Image books that I'm picking up, but yeah, not a whole lot.
Okay.
Yeah, and then finally, Punisher came out this last weekend. We're both in the progress of watching that, so I think we're gonna save our thoughts until we've finished it.
Yeah, like I literally just watched the finale this morning of Daredevil season 2. I figured I shouldn't watch Punisher.
Yeah, I've watched the first episode of Punisher, so we're like we're a ways off from being able to give our thoughts on that, but that's a thing that came out, and we'll hopefully be able to talk about that sometime. But we did both, for whatever reason, if we want to move into old media, for whatever reason, both of us had not finished Daredevil season 2. I think there is a method to that particular coincidence, but we both finished Daredevil season 2 in anticipation of watching Punisher.
And it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
It's just like there's just something about it. I don't feel as drawn to this talk about the hand and all that stuff like that. Like,
it turned into much more of a big kung fu show than it was,
which is good. I like kung fu. That's
the like brooding examination of vigilante justice that was the first season and the first half, especially, of Daredevil season 2. Like the Punisher stuff in that season is so good, and then the second half of that season is pretty disconnected from that stuff.
And honestly, I'm just not a big fan of Elektra. I don't know what it is about her.
Yeah, she's fine.
She's fine, exactly. She's just fine, and it's like, I don't know. She's definitely better than Jennifer Garner. I don't wish for her, but
yeah,
damn. Like I don't know. She's just not nothing too special. And now with that big thing at the end, which I had spoiled, but that's gonna be a whole new thing. But I don't know, and I don't think I'm gonna do Defenders. I guess we'll see.
No, I'm not watching. I don't know. Maybe someday I'll go back and watch Defenders. I heard okay things about it. Heard better things than Iron Fist anyway, which I am not going to watch. I heard only terrible things about Defenders. I watched Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, and both of those are great. I like both those shows. But
is Luke Cage really, really good? Like, should I?
Yeah, Luke Cage is great. Luke Cage is very fun.
Great. Okay,
I would definitely recommend Luke Cage.
It's very different from these other ones.
It's different. It's different.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah,
I'll try. Okay. Old comics.
Yeah, we've both been reading some stuff. I've been very busy this week. So
are you feeling better, by the way? You were sick last week.
I'm still fighting like a little bit of that off, but I'm mostly fine.
Okay.
But I'm still reading 52. I only managed to read like one issue, so I don't have a whole lot to say. But there was a bunch of Metal Men stuff. Metal Men are great. Introduction of a character named Super Chief, who is a kind of man of Native American heritage, who's a kind of Superman analog in some ways, who's cool. Yeah, not a whole lot to update about it since I only read the one issue, but it continues to be really good. Metal Men are always great. You probably don't know who the Metal Men are.
I have no idea who the Metal Men are. I know who the Cybermen from Doctor Who is.
Same thing. No.
Obviously same thing.
Exact thing.
And then for me, I'm going through Why the Last Man.
Oh, you lived up to the pact we made. That you had to read Why the Last Man. We made a pact last week, or I shamed you.
Oh yeah, I had to. I read like 4 issues.
Okay, yeah, you've escaped the shaming this week. I'll put my shame bell away.
Also, thank you. I just realized I'm looking at the writer of this series, Brian K. Vaughan. We just talked about him, and Pia Guerra was the penciler.
Yeah, we what did we talk about Brian K. Vaughan with? Saga?
I probably something we were going through the solicitation.
Yeah, Saga was coming back. But Brian K. Vaughan is pretty much everything he does is worth checking out. He's really good. But you've been trying
doing great stuff. What?
You've been trying to work through this for a while and had kind of fallen off a little bit, and you're getting back to it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we are, because they've been trying to get to California, I guess, for the geneticist's lab, her backup lab.
Yeah, spoilers for Why the Last Man if anybody hasn't read it.
Well, that's kind of the main story. I mean, it's spoilers.
Well, I guess that's kind of the general plot of the series, but yeah.
I'm trying to do as well as I can. But yeah, they finally, they were going to get there at some point. It's a 60-issue thing. If you didn't think they were going to get to California at some point, sorry. In any case, they got to California and it's really, really great. I think they go places. It seems like such a, I don't know, it just seems like it doesn't seem like much, the story when you really think about it, but it really, they go so many places with it, and it's just so well done. It just is.
The characters. They're some of the best rendered characters in comics. You really feel like you get to know Yorick and Agent 355. Is that her name?
Yeah. And Dr. Man.
Yeah, Dr. Man. They feel like real people, and you get very invested in their well-being, and it really makes the drama in that book work really well. I mean, we're saying nothing new. The Why the Last Man has been a classic forever, but I'm just very excited that you're finally getting back to that, because it's definitely must-read material.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's great. I also just a lot of these moments. I hope that in this new age of a lot of TV shows being made out of comic runs and everything like that, this deserves more attention on it.
I mean, to people in the know, this is a classic. People who have been into comics for a while definitely.
I just would love to see
have a reverence for this. What now?
I would love to see this play on screen as well.
They've been trying to make a movie or a TV show or something out of this happen forever. There was a really long in development version that was going to star Shia LaBeouf.
Oh,
before he turned into a crazy person, which would have been Trainwreck. But yeah, they've been trying to make it into a movie forever, and it always falls through. But or a TV show.
So much to it.
Yeah, it would make a much better TV show, but also I would still be very skeptical of it. Yeah. And then you also, after our talk last week, decided to check out a book that I recommended to you. So what book was that, Jack?
It was Black Science. I got the volume 1 trade, and God, it's just like you said, it's constant action, and that's what the story needs. it's constant action, and it's just this character development that just happens throughout it, and it's just like, oh wow, oh gee, oh god,
Yeah, it's Rick Remender is the writer, and Matteo Scalera on art, and Rick Remender is the best person at integrating character development into his action sequences, and this is just one of the most just like pedal to the metal action series out there, and he doesn't drop a beat in terms of endearing you to these characters. It's super super strong.
Also, and I'm going to do this spoiler free, but they just this first trade, they introduce all these, these main characters that are in this, together in this situation that they're in, and they just murder so many of them.
Yeah, that series does not hold back in terms of character deaths. Rick Remender in general is pretty unprecious with his characters. But very heartbreaking when he makes you get to know them and then murders them with his own two hands.
I mean, yeah, but no, I'm loving it. The art style is so great. Scalera and
Scalera is really good.
Yeah, but I don't know about if we're gonna be able to talk about that as much. What do you think?
I mean, we can get into it we can
sort of preliminary.
Yeah, I mean, we can get into like some of the basics here. I'll just
let's tell everybody. So what we want to start doing at the end of these episodes, if we don't start rambling anymore, is this sort of introduce me to some of the specifics of comics and the minutia. Good way to say it. Comics 101, as Doug aptly named.
Yep. So this is a segment that I wanted to start wherein we teach something a little bit about comics that you don't know, or for anyone listening who doesn't really know a whole lot about comics, but wants to learn about it. So you asked me if I could. You're just getting into this in the grand scheme of things, and you're not really super sure about what to look for in art. Like you from other media, like what a good story is and what to look for in terms of that kind of stuff. But
writing, photography, and film, like all that stuff. But it's tough for me to I don't know. It's always been something I can't I can't critique art in a very big way, or drawing in general. It's just a weird, tough thing for me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's something that I think the real answer to this question is you're just gonna get a hang for it over time. Like as you read more and start to notice the stuff that you like and the stuff that you don't like, and what works and what doesn't work from a moment to moment basis in these stories, you will gravitate towards artists. And from that, you'll start to intuit exactly what you like about them. But I can give you kind of like a little kind of bit of my thoughts on what exactly works in comic book art. There's kind of two real categories of kind of qualities that art can have. And there are some that are kind of just like, they're a little bit more objective, and they're kind of just like the foundational, like, is this artist good at communicating what's happening? And so there's things like, is what's happening on the page clear? Just clarity of action. Like, are you able to follow from panel to panel, beat for beat, what is physically happening in the panels? If something is confusing, they're failing on a fundamental level. That's something that happens from time to time in comics, and
it sounds like such a savage insult. You're failing on a fundamental level.
I mean, but you are that's kind of your one, that's kind of the golden. That's the real. That's kind of the only thing you can't break. Like, you need to be able to understand. If you can't understand what's happening on a comic book page, from moment to moment, then you don't know what's happening in the book. And the book doesn't work. There's this concept of quote unquote acting, which basically means, does the artist communicate the emotion in the characters' faces or in their body movement? Like, can you tell in this panel of a character talking, is it just character with mouth open, dead eyes, dialogue bubble, or is the character, he's got his eyebrow raised and he's smirking a little, or does he look distraught? Like it's this idea that the artist is communicating emotion in the characters he draws, he or she. Are they communicating a sense of motion? Can you feel how the character is moving through the art, rather than just looking like they've been posed like a mannequin? Is their anatomy horribly wrong, or does it feel right? It doesn't necessarily have to be photoreal, but like
Fin Fang Foom.
Fin Fang Foom has a lot of anatomy. Let me tell you, probably under those purple shorts. What does that mean? Well. I don't know.
Yeah, under those shorts. Jeez.
Probably. He wears shorts for a reason.
And not in the picture you gave me.
No, he had nothing going on down there, like a Barbie.
Ken.
Okay, sure.
Well, he's a guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In any case, sorry.
But yeah, does it feel like the person doesn't have an understanding of anatomy, whether they like make it look real or not? Like, it doesn't. That's up to their discretion. But do the characters look what now?
For example, with anatomy, I hated how in the last Wonder Woman issue they drew. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. That was in the last Wonder Woman. They drew the brother character in a way that I did not like. They showed,
that's more stylistic. That's not necessarily a misunderstanding of anatomy. That was more a presentational thing, I think, that you didn't like. It wasn't inaccurate anatomy. It was just a style of showing that didn't jive with you, which is something that I'm going to get into in a minute here. Okay. There's character differentiation. Can you tell the characters apart, or does everyone look like the same? This is the man comic book character, and this is the woman comic book character, and everyone looks like that, which is very often a problem in specifically superhero comics.
Like Multiple Man?
If the book looks like everyone is a duplicate of Multiple Man, that's not great. Okay. Layouts is kind of like, does the actual arrangement of the panels tell a story? And then finally, like, does it look like every other comic book, or does it have kind of a unique style to it? And then within style, these are so subjective. This is way more subjective, but like, this is more like taste. Like, do you like art that is clean and has like very defined, simple lines, or do you like art that's a little more energetic and rough? Do you like art that looks a little bit more realism? Or do you like art that's a little bit more cartoony and exaggerated? There's detail versus minimalism. For example, I would say Doom Patrol is a fairly good example of like, it's generally fairly minimalist, this new Doom Patrol, whereas like Gary Frank and Doomsday Clock, that's detail. That's just so many lines and detail, background details and everything. Okay. And again, these are stylistic preferences, not necessarily one or the other is good or bad.
Would you also say that Doom Patrol is more cartoony and realism is more part of...
Doom Patrol is also definitely much more cartoony, whereas Doomsday Clock, Gary Frank's art is very, very realistic.
I love that we're showing all the ways that it was bad that we read these back to back.
Those books are incredibly different. And then there's just the concept of like line work, and that's just kind of like, what do you like in line work?
Okay. What do you mean by line work? I have no idea.
Like cross hatching is a type of line work.
That was a shadow thing.
Yeah, sort of. It was like, showing shadow and shape through lots of small lines, basically, is hatching.
Okay.
Line work is a thing that just you kind of like, you see and you like or you don't like. It's just kind of a visual thing. Like, do the lines look appropriate, or do they look like too much or too little? And then just kind of the idea of like, is the art consistent, and is it going for something that feels specific and appropriate to the story? And like I generally get kind of turned off by art that feels like it's too photoreal, in that it's like referencing specific photos, like it's traced. Photo tracing is often a problem, or that it's traced from 3D renders of characters. That's sometimes something that I struggle with, or that characters are stiff and feel like I said, like they've been placed like mannequins, as opposed to that they're moving through a scene.
Okay.
And we can get into some more. I can get into some like recommendations for you in terms of artists another time.
Yeah.
But I think that gives you kind of like a nice foundation of kind of like what to look for. It's kind of hard to do this in an audio format, but like I think the real key here is just for you to think about the books that you like, and think about if it's the art, if the art is part of the reason you like it, and then specifically look at it as opposed to other books, and think about like what are the books you like doing differently in their art than books that you don't like as much.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'll definitely keep that in mind. Like I like having the conversation of art, because I feel like it's so easy to talk about writing and the story and everything like that, but it's interesting to me to see that
cool
art is half the battle. But yeah.
Cool. That's probably gonna about do it for this week. If you made it this far, all the way to the end here, thank you so much for listening. We're a brand new podcast, so the number one biggest thing you can do for us is that if you like the show, please give us a star rating on your podcast app of choice. That's like the biggest thing that allows people to be able to find our show, and it would mean a lot to us if you could give us your feedback so other people can find us. Subscribe.
And also,
what now?
If you have multiple podcast apps of choice, you might as well give us a star rating on all of them, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're listening to us through multiple podcast apps, you are very dedicated, sir or ma'am, and maybe a little too much. I'm squinting at you through this microphone. Okay. Also, yeah, so subscribe to us if you want to hear all our future episodes. They'll all come out in this feed. And if you enjoyed what you heard, let someone know about us. And we're talking to you, the one person who gave us a chance. Yeah, you are a saint.
Sir, ma'am, sir.
Sir, ma'am, sir. Sir, ma'am.
Ma'am, sir, ma'am. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, we're gonna release episodes. Feed weekly on the podcast, in this podcast feed weekly on Sundays. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Should be fun. In the meantime, we're on Twitter, Facebook at Comics Covered. If you want to subscribe to the show and hear all the content going forward, we've been very busy getting up and running on every service we can, excluding any service we can't, I guess. Sorry. In any case, currently we can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Overcast, and Google Play Music. So whatever podcast app you prefer, we got you covered.
Boo.
All right. In any case, you can also find web archives of all our episodes, all our one episode, at
and this one.
Comics. What?
And this one now.
Okay, all our. Well, if they're already at the end of this one, they know that this one's on wherever it is, right? Oh, I guess I'm talking about where the web archives. Okay. I'll get it. In any case, at comicscovered.libsyn.com and on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, so thanks again for listening. I've been Doug.
I've been Jack.
In the past tense, we're apparently going somewhere. I think.
Well, have you been Doug as you are now, correct?
I have been. I continue to be, is actually the twist here. So.
Yeah, that's a good twist.
Mm-hmm. Right. In any case, yeah, this has been Comics Covered for the week. Thanks for listening.